When putting subqueries into a where line, it's very common to use different predicate operators than just simply equals, not equals, etc. One of the most common is going to be in. So for example, maybe what I need is a list of contacts that have placed orders. Let's take a look at how we could use the in statement to find all contacts that have placed an order. And we'll say select, and let's say C first name, C last name, C email address from person contact C, where C contact ID in, and then now our subquery, select. And when you're creating a subquery that's going to go into a where line through a predicate, we're only allowed back just the one column there. So if I'm using in, I'm only allowed back just the one column. I'm going to say select, and let's say contact ID from sales order header. Choose the right table. And now when I execute this, this is going to give me back every single contact that has placed an order. Now, one little thing that I always like to do whenever I'm doing any form of an in statement is I like to alias our table names. Let me do this properly here. Getting to see my bad habits sometimes. Is I'm going to alias the table inside of the subquery. Now, technically, I don't have to because SQL Server will automatically figure everything out based on really its placement. So because of the fact that our subquery is using sales order header, when we say contact ID, it's going to pull that from sales order header. But of course, that's not really a great way to leave that. I'd like to indicate the fact, hey, this is coming from sales order header. So I really like the alias there. Now you'll notice that when I rerun this query, it's not going to give me a change, but I do think that it makes that query more readable. As with everything inside of SQL, it's frequently possible to get the exact same data in a lot of different ways. Another way that we could do an in statement is by utilizing an exists. What exists is going to do is it's going to execute the subquery and see whether or not anything is returned. And if it is, it will then return as true. An exist statement can frequently be faster than an in statement. Exists is quite frequently going to be used with what's known as a correlated query, something we're going to talk about in just a moment. Now, if I wanted to do a comparison to all items returned from a query, I can utilize an all statement. So for example, maybe what I wanted to do is I wanted to find all of the products that had the highest price. I could do that with an all statement, that I would create a subquery to go get the highest price, and then compare that by using all and an equals to the results of my outer query, where I would be grabbing the list of my products and comparing my list price. Now, if I just want to see if it matched at least one of the items that was returned greater than, less than, or otherwise, then I can utilize some or any. And what that's going to do is see whether or not we match against any of the items that are being returned. Any and some are identical. If we are going to utilize our exists, more often than not, we'll be doing this with a correlated subquery. Correlated subquery simply means that we're going to be taking a column from the outer query, the main query, and passing that into the subquery, sometimes known as the inner query. My correlated subquery is frequently used to simulate a join. Let's take a look at how we can use the exist statement and compare that with our in statement. I'm going to bring back up the Management Studio, and this is going to be our in statement. And then down at the very bottom here, I'm going to say exists statement, and I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and copy that top portion of the query because I know that's exactly what I want. Now, when I get down to my where statement, what I'm going to do instead of saying something in something else, I'm just going to say exists. Now, you'll notice I'm not even going to indicate a column name because I don't need to. Because all that exists is going to do is just see whether or not any rows are returned. And if there are rows returned, it's going to return as true. That's it. There's my comparison. So I'm going to take the exact same subquery that we had before, copy this, paste it, and down below, I'm going to say where my SOH contact ID equals C contact ID. And that's what's going to correlate those two queries together. Now you'll notice that when I execute this, that I'm going to wind up with two separate results here because I executed them both. If I click on the top query, I want you to notice 19,119 rows. And if I go down to the bottom one, you're going to notice I get the exact same results. Or maybe to make that a little bit clearer, let's just go ahead and execute the bottom query, which if you remember, we can do by just highlighting that. And sure enough, there is my results from the bottom query, 19,119 rows. You'll notice we're starting with Gustavo there. And if we just do the top query, which again we can do by just highlighting it, you'll notice I get the exact same results. Now, one of the things that you might be wondering to yourself is, okay, Christopher, which is going to perform faster? Well, the answer is, it turns out, really depends. And one of the things that we're going to see in another lesson is how we could go in and see a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes and compare different approaches to executing the same query.